Welcome back to Four Sisters, where we will give you tips on self-care, self-awareness, self-confidence, and show you all the ways you can love yourself. So get ready to laugh, cuss, cry, and pray. Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Hello.
So,
welcome back to episode 13, our lucky 13th episode.
I thought it was lucky number 7.
I think 13 is one of them lucky. Girl, don't do this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anywho, how have
13
y'all?
is actually spooky.
How is it?
Yeah.
Friday the 13th? 13?
Yo, my
13
Friday the
goes.
13th was
Goes.
crazy. Anyway, how has your week been?
Great. I've had a great week.
It has been wonderful.
That was so bad. You had to have the fake smile and then like,
I wonder if they could hear
They
you
could
smile
hear the
like they
fake
knew
news.
Aliana.
Woo,
oh, y'all stupid.
But I've been alright this week too. No biggies, no big things going on. Son birthday, so
Happy birthday!
he said thank you.
My week has been great. Everybody's been good. Cool. All right. So, Dani, what you got?
So, this week I think that I will have a resolution for us to discuss together. My resolution is based off of the article related to, or not even the article, the singer Michelle Williams, formerly known as a member of the Destiny's Child, or a Destiny's Child member. And so Michelle Williams checked herself into a mental health facility this past week for depression. So this is what she writes. She said, "For years, I've dedicated myself to increasing the awareness of mental health and empowering people to recognize when it's time to seek help, support, and guidance from those that love and care for your well-being. Today, I proudly, happily, and healthily stand here as someone who will continue to always lead by example as I tirelessly advocate for the betterment of those in need." So what she pretty much is saying is that she truly has been going through a lot of issues regarding depression. And she even notes that progress is not perfection. So my resolution, very short and sweet, is that when you see the signs, you got to do something about it. When you see the signs, you can continue to go through life. You can continue to say everything's fine. You can continue to wait for the next day and the next day, and it'll be better tomorrow. Ooh, that was country, man.
Yeah.
But she was able to say, this is something I'm dealing with, and this is how I'm going to handle it. Boom, boom. And now she's in a mental health facility getting the treatment she needs. However, it seems like when I was on the Shade Room, and a little baby Reed ranting here, when I was in the Shade Room, a lot of people were like, well, y'all spent years like laughing at her and joking on her. Y'all remember when she fell on 106 in Park and Beyonce stepped over her?
There's a whole website dedicated to her feels called poormichelle.com.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang. I was about to go into it, but I was like, no, it's not the time. But, and so, and it's amazing because people who laughed and joked and did all this harassing stuff to her are the ones that are like, we praying for you, girl. Don't be fake, y'all. Don't be fake. Don't be out here saying, girl, we miss you, we love you, get better. But y'all were the main ones putting up thousands of laughing emojis under memes about her. I might have been one of them. But I think that is very healthy for us to admit. I think it's very healthy for us to admit that we might have all played a part in her depression, because when the world is laughing at you, it's very hard not to be able to block
Take
that
it
out.
personal.
Right.
Right.
So, but back to her, I do truly hope that she gets the help that she needs, but I really do think that she's making a great example of somebody of that stature saying, you know what, I need help, especially as an African-American woman.
I think so too.
Do y'all have any thoughts on Michelle Williams?
I'm rooting for her. I hope she come back strong as she did before she left.
I'm like Issa Rae. I'm rooting for everybody black. Although I will say, you know, I think this isn't the first time that she's come out and talked about her battles with depression.
Oh, okay.
But I might have to do my Googles because.
I mean, it says that she was an advocate. She said she was an advocate, so I'm assuming that most people who are advocate have some type of level of understanding. So I mean, I
don't think Michelle gets enough appreciation as far as like her role in Destiny's Child. Like, yeah, some of the memes and stuff are funny and stuff like that, but you also gotta think like she a real person.
Yeah, and she had the best verse in "Cater to You." So
I listened to it the other day, and she didn't.
What?
she did.
Nope. Kelly had the best.
No, I'm gonna give it to
Have
Michelle.
y'all ever listened?
I didn't like the way Kelly
first of all,
sounded.
have y'all ever listened to the words of Michelle's verse?
Did you listen to the words of that song, girl? The whole song was trash.
but I'm
Cater to
saying
You?
Beyonce and Michelle's verses were like extra. Michelle said, "I want to give my breath, my strength, my will to live."
That's like a wedding vow.
The rest of them was giving it.
Bitch, what kind of wedding you going to?
Did
y'all
you
do
do
a part?
Thank you.
You give it my wheels? No.
Your last breath to death do us part. I see those
Same
things as correlated.
Same different.
I ain't giving nobody my will to live.
Not will to live like you ain't
That
live
was
live
the
with-
verse. That's what she said.
I don't. It's in the context.
She said that's the least she could do. Let her cater to you.
Yeah.
She was in it to win it.
Okay.
She was deep into this relationship.
And the way it just...
Right.
That was the good part about it. I don't know if I said the words right. Probably did.
You
But
didn't
it was
say
just
the words.
You know what? I'm happy though that
Yeah.
she's getting the help that she needs, and that she has a team of people who
Yes.
support her in getting the help that she needs.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because
That
that
is
seems
important.
to be lacking in the
Demi Lovato world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bless her heart, too.
Yeah.
Because
bless her.
her team, they got to get her a new team because she
All the
was
way
doing
down.
great when she had a good team.
All the way down to
Prayers
this.
up.
She had a lot of wolves in her corner.
Woo!
Was it wolves in the lion's den?
yeah. I felt that.
Okay, good.
All right. So was that our resolution?
Yes, that is our resolution.
Thank you, Miss Dani. All right. So Miss K, what do you have for us today in your corner?
Well, on the corner today, we're going to be...
Selling rocks. Okay.
We're going to be talking about this topic of depression, and kind of giving you guys the truth about depression, because a lot of times I don't think we do enough and understand what the symptoms actually look like or what depression actually is. Like, some people can throw it around as like, I'm depressed today and things like that. So we throw it around as a joke or as just to describe our mood in a day.
That's
but
something real lighthearted.
Yeah, it's deeper than that. So, what is depression? Depression is a significant decline in mood that lasts 2 weeks or longer, which impedes on your ability to function in settings that are otherwise functional. So, that can be work, that can be home life, that can be in the community. So, it's impeding on your ability to function. I like to explain the symptoms in two different spectrums. So you have your billboard symptoms. So your billboard symptoms are like deep sadness, lower depressed mood, isolation from loved ones, hopelessness, suicidal, whether it's just the ideations or you had a suicidal attempt or somebody actually followed through and committed suicide. The uncontrollable crying and your neglect of responsibilities. So that's more so like not cleaning your house, not going to work. So, and the reason I call these billboard symptoms is because those are those symptoms that stand out that most people think about when they think of depression. Mm-hmm. However, when you see a billboard, you're going to see the big, huge wording on it, but there are some things we call fine print on there as well. So there are other symptoms that people need to look out for that we normally do not. Disruption of sleep pattern. So are you waking up at night? Or is it hard for you to fall asleep?
Are you sleeping too much?
Are you sleeping too much? Right. Changing your eating habit. Are you eating too much? Are you eating too little? Easily irritation. Anger outbursts. Less motivated. Lost interest in things you once enjoyed doing. Impaired self-confidence or feeling worthless. Excessive negative thoughts and your inability to focus and concentrate. All of those things, and it's probably many, many more because of some people have some symptoms and some people have other symptoms, and I'm sure I did not even grasp all of the symptoms. Mm-hmm. Some people have a question of, why do I feel this way? Because they most of the time don't have the answer. But that's not an easy thing to like put together, even for a therapist. So you have to take into consideration that genetics might play a role. So say for instance, if grandma was depressed, mom was depressed, dad was depressed, so there may be a long family history of it. And just to throw it out there, I don't think it's talked about in the African American community specifically. I guess I can talk for us a little bit, specifically my family. Like, I won't be able to go to my grandma and say, hey grandma, what kind of mental health issues run in my family, the way I can go and say, how many people had a stroke? Mm-hmm. How many people have diabetes? Where does high blood pressure run in the family? So that's not talked about because of that taboo. But it can be genetic. Situational, loss of a loved one, loss of a relationship, loss of a job, trauma, medical issues such as thyroid issues, diabetes, and chronic pain have all been correlated back to depression. Alcohol and substance abuse, medication, like the list just goes on. Do you guys have any that you want to add to this list?
No, I think you covered it.
Yeah. Another thing is depression is not managed by going on a hunt for motivation. That's one of the symptoms that we talked about here in the very beginning, that motivation is not, you're going to have a lack of motivation. So you're going to have need something beyond motivation to actually manage depression. So the major key to this is managing depression through action. You're going to have to find, I would say strength, but not necessarily motivation, but find some strength to actually get out of bed. Like, you might feel like you want to lay there the whole time, but you're going to feel worse. Find some strength to go do something that's going to be beneficial, because there's a downward spiral to depression and there's an upward spiral to depression. The downward spiral is, I feel bad, I do nothing. I feel worse, I do less. And you keep going and going until you're in a hole. The upward spiral is, I feel bad, I do something. I feel better, I do more. And you see how that trend goes up.
I like that.
Common coping skills and strategies. Some of the major ones that I know I teach in the office, or I give as a list of things that people could utilize: mindfulness, yoga, meditation, exercise, daily affirmations. Disclaimer about daily affirmations. The thing to understand here is, I know there's not a lot of good things you like about yourself in the beginning when you're in a depressive state. The thing about daily affirmations is you're retraining your brain to think a different way. Because every time you wake up, it's, I hate my life, I hate this. And so you start to believe that, you start to live that, it is you, it consumes you. So the same way you was in first grade and they was having those flashcards that say 1 + 1 and you had to just throw them up there, that's the same way you're probably going to do with daily affirmations. Get some sticky notes, put them on the mirror, just put one that flashes on your phone. They got apps nowadays that have daily motivation or daily affirmation that'll just pop up. Repetition will allow you to start to believe these things over time.
And make it a habit.
And it make it a habit, right? Because you made it a habit to start talking down and bad about yourself, so now you have to undo that. You have to break it. It's going to be work, but you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Creating a support circle. So make sure that recipe meets your needs, though. Make sure that support, if you need a listener, you need a prayer and worship partner, you need a person with wise advice, or you need somebody to distract you. This person can be all in one, all inclusive, or it can be a combination of people.
Get you a squad.
Get you a squad. Or at least one good squad member.
Start a squad.
Start a squad. Because, I mean, a lot of times we're going to people for supports and they can't support us. We got to know when people cannot support us in the way we need them to.
Right. And learn to not take it personally whenever somebody just cannot support you.
Right. That's a big thing. Like, personally, within the four of us, if I need a prayer and worship partner, I'm probably going to reach out to Miss CiCi. No.
Dang, you ain't trying to reach out to me for prayer.
I'm probably gonna reach out to her, and I think
me and God are tight. Okay.
Okay, but not outside of CiCi and God.
We need that in that moment of need.
I guess. I ain't asking Dani to pray for me, so I know.
I keep my prayers to myself.
You know she don't share.
You know I don't. I was keeping all of them for me.
You can also have individual and group therapy, and there are a lot of self-help books that people don't utilize out there. There's a lot of them. Look at your Amazon ratings, though. Don't get none with no 1 or 2 stars. Understand and read. I'm sorry. You gotta research. And I'm gonna leave you with this when it comes to like seeking the help and the coping motivations is if change is the only thing that's consistent, understand that you can constantly make effort to improve your situation or your mood. So constantly working.
That's true.
It is very true.
Like Michelle Williams said, what she said, progress makes perfection. Progress is perfection.
I like
Not
that.
perfection.
Right.
It's progress.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like it too.
How to support a friend. Listen up, guys. First one is listen. And don't go in to just respond. Go in and actually actively listen to your friend because they might not want your feedback. They might just need an ear at that moment because they've got enough people giving them feedback that they can't take or consume anymore. Do not list all the things they have to live for or be grateful for. That don't help. Do not minimize the situation by telling them that it's not serious or comparing a worse situation like,
At least you still got all your arms and legs.
and look at me over here. Barely making it. That don't help anyone.
Hate it.
Invite them for a change of scenery. Call, communicate often with the person. Personally, I don't like nobody to call me. So that's why I said call or communicate. Make sure you understand how the person you're reaching out to communicate. Because if you call me, I probably will on a good day ignore your phone call. But if you text me, I'll get back at you probably immediately. That's just me. You text me and tell me you want to call. That's what I mean. And understand forcing your solutions to someone else's problem will always be unsuccessful unless that person is ready to change.
Ooh,
no form of guilt tripping or manipulative tactics can sway a mind that has no desire to receive it.
That's true.
That is a word.
good.
You can't force nobody to change. As much as you see it, as much as you want it, you will find yourself in a rabbit hole with them if you keep forcing it.
Show your child.
And Dani, you touched on this a little bit in the beginning when we were talking about Michelle. And I wanted to kind of sort of bring that to the light because there's a lot of celebrities now coming out saying they have depression, they have bipolar, they have all different types of mental health issues. And then you got still people joking on it and saying like, just because they rich, what do they have to be depressed about? What do they have to be anxious about? How are they dealing with that? They got all the money in the world. Just because their problems don't look like they're your problems, that don't mean they're not problems.
New levels, new devils.
Okay?
Hello.
Privilege don't exclude nobody from having mental health issues. We got to stop comparing it. I think you said it in one of our early episodes of don't compare problems, compare solutions. Like, what are you doing to help your situation where you could have inboxed Michelle and was like, hey girl, I tried this, have you?
Right.
Like, so help a sister out.
Help us, sister out.
All right. That is all on Kay's Corner today. Hopefully it was beneficial for someone.
Kay's Corner was bomb.
Yeah. You know, one thing I really liked about what you said was, especially I see it a lot in our community, is that we minimize so much, or either we're just not talking about it. And that is detrimental. We got to stop doing that. We got to really speak up and speak out about things. So I like that you pointed that out.
Yep. Definitely some ignoring and some minimizing. Alright, so no comments, Dani?
No.
Alrighty. So let's roll on to the sister circle. I felt like it would be okay for us to get a little personal today because...
Did you?
Ooh. Ooh.
This is my Tracy Morgan.
No. Hell no.
Because Miss K has already given us some very good facts about depression. So I was like, okay, let's be a little vulnerable for our listeners today to let them know that, you know, we can relate. Or can we? So my first question is, have you ever personally dealt with depression?
I'll answer first. Yes.
You have been very open about it on the podcast.
Yeah. And it's a daily battle. It's a daily battle. Some days I have my good days, some days I have my bad days. But since I've started talking about it and expressing myself more, it's not as intense. Because I don't hold on to it for too long.
Let's see, see. If you said cuss words, you was cussing me out right now.
I really was. No, but I mean, I've not been diagnosed with depression, but I can definitely say that I've had some times in my life where I have been depressed and some real struggles. I know Kate mentioned like one of the ways is to have like some hardships and some traumas and some things that have happened. I can definitely say that I have experienced some real low times, some real dark times, and for me, you know, I had to go find somebody to talk to, and praying and all that good stuff that's helped me. So,
Dani,
I plead the fifth. Go now. Go. Skip around.
I will come back to you. So yes, I definitely have dealt with depression for a long time on and off, and I definitely would say probably is a combination of like maybe some genetics as well as situational things, and then like life stressors. So it definitely can be very tough. And I will say when it comes to me and depression, I have mastered the art of being depressed and no one knowing that I'm depressed. So,
which is not healthy. But
I know there's things that I work on in the therapy. Your turn.
So about depression, I think that I've struggled with depression at random times. I struggle with depression situational, like Sasha said, that like were triggered by things. And then I think I just have like environmental depression sometimes. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes it'll be like raining for like, we live in North Carolina, so it'll be raining for like 48 days straight, and you see, you know, the arc fly by your window, and you get down. And I think, you know, sometimes it's like seasonal or environmental and situational.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah. I'm real gloomy on a cloudy day.
Yeah, and then like I can't get out the bed, and then I have no motivation, and sometimes I don't do my ADLs or activities of daily living. Like I might not, I don't brush my hair anyway, but I don't do basic stuff that I should do. And then when I'm like at the end of it, I'm like, whoo, all right, let me get up out of this. You know, like you kind of like have to wash it off, get in the shower, and you feel better. So
that's another thing. We didn't talk about that in Kay's Corner, but there are different types of depression.
Yeah.
But we would have been here all day bringing all the different types down, but just know that they are different types.
Yep.
And it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
Because somebody can have 4 symptoms. You may have 4 completely different. Your symptoms might manifest into something the next time you had depression. Mm-hmm. It's a tricky thing.
It really looks different on everybody. Mm-hmm. And particularly we see people, especially like celebrities and things like that, and we're just like, how could we never saw the sign? You know, Michelle recently just got engaged. So people are like, oh my gosh, but you know, she happy, but there's things that lie underneath, and people can mask it all day. Mm-hmm. Know that there are some professional maskers out there. Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you said that, because it's a good segue into the next question.
I thought you about to say that.
Man, I wish you had a camera in here for this episode just so that you could see all these side eyes that I'm getting right now.
Yeah.
So when it comes to depression for you, how would you say that it shows up for you? Like, if we don't know that you're depressed, what would we be looking for?
For me specifically?
Mm-hmm.
I would say for me, I have such an aggressive, well, I wouldn't say aggressive because everybody says aggressive. I have such a like out there personality where I'm always making people laugh and I'm always like in the middle of something, or I'm just always like just doing something that people like attention. Different from attention seeker, FYI. But when I'm completely like in my office, isolated, withdrawn, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. I don't care if you laugh or not. That's like atypical of my personality. So then that's when you know, like, all right, you know, let her be.
Always though?
I can't say always, but I would say a majority of the time if my personality is like opposite of what I normally am.
What about the other times?
I'm probably just cramping.
No, I'm talking about like times whenever you're depressed and you're not God. I mean, other times whenever you're not.
Give me an example. What you trying to say about my personality? That's what I'm asking.
I'm still laughing. I'm still laughing at your cramping comment. Okay. So I mean, like other times, you said sometimes when you're depressed, you're acting like the opposite of your personality.
Yeah.
So in the times where you're depressed and you're not acting like the opposite of your personality,
I'm very good at putting on a good front. I think sometimes. The one thing I will do when I'm depressed is I will try as hard as I can to make people laugh. So like I'll go like if I go into CiCi's office and I'm like really depressed, I'll be trying as hard as I can to just like make her bust out like crying, like laughing. But I think a lot of that is because then that makes me feel like if I'm not happy, then I can make somebody else happy. So then I go so I go from one extreme.
I knew that about you.
Wanted to hear you say it out loud.
If I get 15 Facebook messages, videos from you, I would say,
yeah. Yeah, because I'm like overly trying to, and it's like you kind of attach to other people's happiness. Yeah, that's true.
But and sometimes it helps.
Yeah.
Because
then I'll be laughing, and then it sometimes can like pull me out of it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just good to see other people laugh, though.
Right. Appreciate that.
CiCi. I think for me, I'm quiet anyway. So if I get quieter,
you have like facial, like you just.
And I wear my heart on my sleeve. So most times people know how I'm feeling. I'm not really good at, and I'll be like, I'm fine. Stop asking me. Like,
ooh, girl, that is it.
You be looking like downright downtrodden, like just tired. Like truth is, I'm tired.
And I will, and usually most of the time, I'll be like, I'm just tired. And really, it's probably because I'm just
like real life snap on us.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would stop asking me. I'm good. And this is when Nikayla or Sasha said, she'll tell us next week. She was like, guys, last week.
We're going to leave her alone.
You know what? Because then, like, when I do that, I feel so bad. And I'm like, Lord, now my friends probably, I'm like, I got to. And the negative talk is real. Yeah, like, I will talk myself down. And for me, it's not even just like, oh man, now my friends will be like, ooh, she's snapping. I don't even want to talk to her today. It's more like, oh, you're not worthy because of all the 175 things you did in your life. Like, it goes deep. And I will, I do the downward spiral. Mm-hmm. And so, that's what I look like.
Definitely. You're very
y'all
obvious.
Know me.
Yeah. We know that.
For me, plain and simple. Told y'all at the beginning. Don't call, text. So if you don't get text messages from me, I'm not responding in the group chats, and like I haven't checked on you in a while because I'm good for checking on people. Mm-hmm. Check on me. Because
check on your strong
friend. Yep, check on your strong friend. Because I'm probably something's wrong, and that's normally how people can tell. I haven't heard from you in a while. You okay?
Yeah.
Like, Sash quick to like give me a side text like, I see you ain't responded in the group chatting about.
I said that to her the other day. I was like, so what happened to you this weekend? I ain't hear from you.
Or
got me concerned.
bunch of stuff, like if I just see her all over the place, I'm like, you good? Because I know that generally if she's got anything, a bunch of different moving parts going on, that there's some stress associated, and I'm like, okay, so like what are you doing to decompress with all this stuff that you got going on?
Right.
Because she would throw on the laugh real quick.
She sure will. And put on a smile, and I'll be like, I can see right through that.
Listen, the mask be real.
Did you say your answer? You're gonna act like you ain't coming back around.
So, so I think that when I'm not masking it, depression looks like me isolating myself. Generally, if I'm isolating myself, it's because I feel like crying and I don't want other people to see me cry. So that's generally where it's like I'm to the point where I cannot mask it for anybody. So I isolate myself so that I don't pull you into my stuff. Because I don't have the kind of depression that's like, oh, she's kind of sad. I've got like some really intense, like dark, deep, heavy kind of depression where, you know, I have had periods in my life where I was like super suicidal, and like people don't know until like now that I'm out of it. And like I had a conversation with one of my family members like a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about like depression and me, and she was like, I was telling her about stuff that I was going through at the time, and she was like, I remember then, and like I never would have knew. So I can get real dark. So when I'm at that place, you generally won't see or hear from me because it's like I don't want to bring you where I am. Most of the time when I'm depressed, though, it's like I probably am just doing what I normally do. You're not going to be able to tell that I'm depressed if I don't slip up and say something. And sometimes I will throw out a statement just to see if you're paying attention. Like
quizzing people.
I think it's because I'm so used to not having support. Or not having support, or not feeling like I can rely on support, and so I just take on everything. And so I may say something and I might be like, yeah, I mean, I'm just overwhelmed, but it is what it is. And like nobody's going to jump in and help me when I say something like that. But it's like, if you know me for real, you know that I wouldn't say I'm overwhelmed if I didn't really feel it. So I do like super passive aggressive things when I'm depressed until I explode.
Then you a fire breathing dragon. No,
I'm not a fire breathing dragon anymore. I cry now, but it generally is like.
And I rely on Cicely's tears for my tears for years. So
I cry a lot, y'all. Lord knows.
Kay has seen me cry.
I've seen you cry on accident.
You've seen me cry when I was
on accident.
You remember I walked in?
Yeah, when she forced me to talk. But generally, I cry by myself.
Generally, I don't see the need for tears, which is a part of my depression.
Yeah, it is, but it's real though.
That's the feeling.
Because if I feel like I'm even gonna cry, I will be like, man, gone.
Right, and so
Baby
that was
gone.
my next question.
My tears be scared of me. Like, all right, we going.
Right. That's my next question. Why do y'all think it's so hard to just like cry and be vulnerable?
I don't know what that's like.
I don't have that problem.
No, I would say this. I cry at like Marley and Me. I cried at Lion King. I cried at All Dogs Go to Heaven. I cried at Bambi. I'm pretty sure I cried because that's why from the arts, the one we had on the art. I can't stand hyenas. I don't even want to see them at the zoo if I ever go to Africa or something.
Girl.
But I will say I'm good at crying at like emotional movies. But in real life, it's like it just does not connect. There's times where I'm like, I should be crying right now. And it don't happen.
I be at whole funerals. Close people. And I just be like this. Probably need to cry.
I cry at funerals. I cry at funerals. Because the only... I've gone to a lot of funerals, but...
I only cried at one.
But like in real life, like things that are like... that impact me, I don't. I cry at funerals and animal movies. Boom, there you go.
I cry at funerals. I cry in movies. And I think I cry for everyday things. But
I ain't got there yet.
crying in front of people is very hard for me. Like, legit, you will look at me and, like, know that I'm on the brink of tears. And I'll be like,
nope.
Swallow. Like, nah, we ain't doing this. Like, that's not what's about to happen right now. Because I don't know. I don't want to be weak, or I don't feel
I think
like
it's a sign of weakness for African American women.
Yeah.
It's been
No,
ingrained.
I'm just saying in general. Like, I think that a
It's
lot of women
ingrained.
think,
It's ingrained
like,
in us.
I don't want you to have that leg up on me. Like, I don't want you. It's okay for you to know that I'm weak, but I don't want you to see my weakness.
And I don't ever remember my mom crying because she was sad. I always remember my mom crying because she was angry. So I cry when I'm angry. Like, if I'm about to fight, tears, because you need to know what's coming.
These are killer tears.
But, like, I think a lot of it is, like, I never saw my mom cry when she was sad. And it's just that thing.
I went through that piece of, like, African Americans, like, when you see me at cry and run, because it's like an ongoing joke.
Right.
And we kind of broke that down, and it helped me to open my eyes as I was helping her open her eyes about the situation. Is that there's probably a lot of, like, even though you think it's anger, there's a lot of confused emotions in there. Like, sadness is in there, embarrassment is in there. Like, you're calling me out, because most of the times when I'm angry is I'm coming after you is because you've already gathered a crowd of people around and they see you coming at me this way, or something about this situation is making me fearful, and I'm not going to let you see it, and it's going to come out and you're going to think it's anger, but all the emotions are probably going to manifest together.
With the angry tears, for me, it's like I'm out of control, and it's like
Right.
I'm going to cry right now because I can't do what I want to do or say what I might want to say, and so it's like the safest thing to do is cry. But if you touch me,
It's over.
everything is these tears and these hands is what you go catch.
Well, I might need to go see a doctor because
You're healthy, though.
I cry all the time. I think I could probably cry right now.
It's because you're healthy,
That's
child.
healthy.
We
We're saying this
clearly
for
are
unhealthy,
emotionally damaged over here.
And that's the thing. Like, you may have grew up with a family. Well, I know I didn't grow up with a family who expressed emotions outward. Like, the only emotions we knew was happy and sad and anger. Happy, sad, anger was the only three that we knew, and we couldn't show sadness and we couldn't show anger. So none of those two were even acceptable. So you're always forced to put the smile on. You're always forced to do that because that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Oh, you know what? Also, sometimes I don't want to cry in front of people because I don't want to tell you why. I don't want to express my feelings to you. And if I talk about it, then, or if I cry, then you're going to want me to talk about it, and I don't want to talk about it.
True. It's true.
So there's that.
So many out.
Yeah, child. This emotion, these things us therapists are struggling with. So when it comes to like family members, do you feel like you are, when it comes to your outlets for expressing your depression, who are you expressing that to? Is it more so family? Is it more so friends? Or is it both? Like, who's your support network?
For depression, y'all can go.
I would say for me, it's probably my friends, only because y'all and my other set of friends, y'all not nag me, but y'all will tag me until I say something, which I appreciate. And honestly, like my family, it's like, for me, I have a sense of like they are very proud of me, and I feel like if I were to be like, oh God, I feel so depressed or whatever, it would let them down. That's stuff I got to work on, but it's
real. It's real, especially when you're like one of the first to be successful on that level out of your family. That's real.
There's some pressure there.
And I would say the same. Like, I feel like I give my family pieces of my depression in a sense of, especially if they could help me in that piece. Like, I've learned how to compartmentalize. Like, I can bring it all to y'all, but I can only take a portion to my family, because if I know if I take the other side, the support is gonna look, well, the support will not be there, and it's gonna like bring me back to the space where I know I've grown from. So I've learned how to compartmentalize and take pieces of it to my family where I know they can support me. Mm-hmm. So I won't feel like they're not a support at all. Because if I get there, that means I'm going to isolate myself from my family altogether.
I think when it comes to depression, I take that a couple of different places. One, I mean, some of the, I guess, darkest stuff, of course, I take to therapy because I don't want to put that on anybody else. And that's just part of me, I guess, being responsible. And then I definitely rely on my friends a lot more so when it comes to managing like my emotions and depression and stuff, because sometimes the stuff that's going on with me emotionally is family related. So I don't necessarily go to them with it, or I go to them with it once I've already processed it and I can package it in a way that makes more sense. So probably friends, therapy, and journaling.
I was gonna say that too. Like when you said your deeper things, like that don't even get. I probably should take it to a therapist, but I take it to a journal, and then I take it to God. But
that too, because we have been, we be rocking together at night. I might doze off, but I'll be like, Lord knows. Let me tell you about this. Help a sister out. Dani.
Go ahead, Kay.
Oh, I was just gonna add, because y'all were talking about journaling, that I journal as well, but over the years I've learned that once I get out of the depressive state that I was in, and if I go back and I write some solutions, I can go back and read that later, and that's helped me a lot.
Yeah, real talk, just going back and reading your journal and like reading like a point in time where you were super depressed, and then looking back on it now, you be like, dang.
I actually had 3 journals that my mom was getting rid of all my stuff. Shout out to my mom for getting all the stuff out of my childhood bedroom, but and turning it into her bedroom. You a real G. But she was like, come get the stuff that you want, and I just legit found 3 journals that I used to have. One of them was like a real journal, and 2 of them were like notebooks, 70-page notebooks. And like I was writing stuff, and I was like, "What the Hades was I thinking?" Like, and I remember like I was able to put myself back at that time. Like, why was I like? And it was like sadness and anger and frustration, and I was just like, "Girl, you ain't have no responsibility. You should be sitting down." But this is like back when I was living in my mom's house, so like under the age of 18. To the question, I would say I'm really closed off when it comes to things. I think that people know, but I don't really be having conversations with people about like really what happens with me. I think I always joke and I always say like I'm gonna write a book one day, and I'm like, dang, all that was gone, and I just don't process things in like a need to tell people. I remember I was having a conversation with my mom about something that happened not too long ago, and I was telling her like the difference between the different types of depressions, and then I told this is the one that I have, and she was just like, what? And like I was like, yeah. She was just like, I didn't think you, and I was just saying it casually. I was at Qdoba and Night Down and everything, and I was just saying it like just very casually.
These random unnecessary
no. But I think I don't really go to anyone, and I guess that is something I will be working on now that I'm saying out loud. But I don't really go to anyone about anything. I keep things very surface level.
Yeah. I don't know, you guys. This depression conversation is very near and dear to my heart, because I feel like we really be out here going through it. Like, but we never we talk about it, but we never like really talk about it. So I was like, this is the only time I'm gonna get y'all to talk about y'all feelings, so I'm gonna make you do it on the podcast.
Closed. I will say one thing though, it is helpful for me as somebody that doesn't feel that I am expressing my feelings in a way that I should. I think that people see me as emotional, like in my family, because I cry like all kinds of movies and stuff. I cry when people die, but I think it's very good for me to be around people who express their feelings and their emotions, because then it helps me see like what is healthy and that I'm not being healthy. It's kind of like it steers me to like, okay, this is what's right, and I need to work towards like being more expression. I'm sorry, I had hiccups. But it just helps me. It steers me towards the right way. It keeps a constant reminder of like what I should be aspiring to do or be when it comes to depression or even just managing my feelings.
Yes. I will agree. I will say that you guys are an amazing support system, and that we will be having a conversation about something, and then everybody will be having aha moments. And then we don't really do nothing about it, but we do be having these aha moments.
I had an aha moment.
We have grown.
I had an aha moment when me and CiCi used to be in supervision, and like every supervision, I would be like, I know CiCi gonna come in here and cry. And it got to the point where our supervisor at the time would like leave a tissue beside CiCi's chair that she all sat in. I was like, and then like one day I went home and I was like, maybe there's something wrong with me, because she has a reason to be crying and upset and emotional, and I'm in here cracking jokes. So I was like, maybe there's truly something wrong with the fact that I try as hard as I can and go around the world to not express my feelings. We're so easy, and that's something I will always say. You know, when CiCi cries, I take credit for that, for my cries for the year. But it's just amazing because like outside of like normal things like death and animal movies, I just don't feel connected to tears. I know they in there though. My aha moment.
Moral of the story is I gotta stop crying.
No, you don't. But it's
No,
so
you do.
weird. It's so weird because you will cry, but I feel like of all of us, when it comes to like sharing and expressing your emotions, you don't. Like, you cry, but then you don't express your feelings. It's just like,
So together me and CiCi make the perfect person.
right? Do you?
I say how I feel, but she cries. So
You
together,
avoid it so much. You will like
I'll
dance
say,
around
I'll
the
tell
world.
you like this is what's going on. This is I'll pause. I don't say it towards depression. I forgot to talk to this thing was depression, but I'll say it towards anger.
Anxiety too.
I'll say about anger and anxiety and frustration. But when it comes to depression, I just be like, I'm just gonna go home.
See y'all next week.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm gonna go home.
Yeah.
I'll be looking at the phone. I love my best friend to death, but she always calls when I'm going through. I don't know if it's like we have this kindred
Y'all in
spirit.
sync,
Yeah, but she always calls when I'm going through it, and I don't pick up the phone. And then she'll call again, and I don't pick up the phone.
Now text her.
And then I'll call. I tell her that all the time, girl, just text me. But she's a phone call person. Like, she's not doing that text thing. And I remember one time I was just like, I just be going through it. And she'd be like, I know. And that we don't even go no further than that.
Nah, nigga, I'm a digger. You going through it? What you going through? Tell me about it. What day you going through it on? What you think it's cause of? I mean, like, I wouldn't know. I'm trying to figure it out. How can I help you help yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts, Kay?
This was too good. It was good, needed, but I don't got nothing to add. But,
Well, thank you guys for being a little vulnerable with me and expressing your emotions, telling the people about depression. Oh, my bad. I do have a last question.
The hell you don't
This don't
have
have
open.
nothing. This don't have nothing to do with y'all though.
Okay, good.
But this is something that happens a lot. So when it comes to social media, right? We see people post. They're like have these long posts, or maybe it's a short post, but they're clearly going through something. Sometimes it's people we know well. Sometimes it's people that we don't know well. But how do you approach that situation where somebody is online crying out for help?
That actually happened to me last year. I had a friend that pretty much said he was going to commit suicide, and on Facebook, and everybody was commenting, and I was like, but did someone call now? Like, I jumped in, I was like, but did someone call 911 to his house? Like, we can go over like, hey, you know, cheer up, or like, you know, I need a plan of action. Like, who's calling the 911 people to his house? Who's doing a wellness check? Like, who's out there? Like, please let me know.
That's why you my friend.
Yeah, like I don't need none of that extra stuff. And everybody
We're over here panicking like, you good?
Yeah.
Listen, you get the water.
Yeah, like, who called 911?
I'll call 911.
Yeah. I just don't like. It frustrates the life out of me when people can see someone going through it and they're just like, you know, hold your head up. I'm like, if you don't get on there, I'm like, call 911. Who's calling 911? Freak all the other stuff.
Y'all, real talk. Somebody had posted like they were gonna commit suicide, or like life isn't worth living anymore, and like legit somebody commented under it and was like, "Shut up, stop playing." And I was like,
"Oh no."
Because people think, I will honestly say, working in this field, especially with teenagers, there are a lot of teenagers that be like, I just want to kill myself. But they don't really mean it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's like a modern, like, weird way to express your feelings. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But like, I'll never take that joint. Like, I don't play with it. Yeah. I'll risk a session.
I wouldn't even say that they don't mean it, because I don't think that they mean this. They don't mean the permanency of it, or they don't mean it
right
to that extent. But like, they are really going through something to the point where they're like, I don't know how to get out of this, and the most logical way to get out of this right now is to die. And so it's like, even if you don't believe that they want to do this, you've got to pay attention to the fact that something is causing them to want to leave.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. I've even had people reach out to me and say stuff like, yo, somebody had posted this, and like, I know you're a therapist, so like, what do you think I should do? This is my friend, blah, 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 blah. So I just wanted to get y'all's feedback on like how y'all handle those situations, or what you would say to somebody when they see this on the internet. So you said you would call 911,
or whoever knows that person need to call. I mean, like, because I may not have that person's address, and that person I didn't have his address. But I'm like, whoever on the status got the address, call 911, and then I'll check back in later to make sure like someone actually did it.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, that's weird, because then you would feel some type of way because you want to status about something, hold your head up, and then they kill themselves. What do you say after that? Ain't gonna be no hold your head up, like, you know. So,
and it's like, you know, or if I see somebody post something, like, I'm good for like sending you a message and being like, hey, if you need to talk, hit me up, or if you don't feel comfortable talking to me and helping me, pointing you in the right direction, like, here's the suicide hotline, like, because I don't know, I guess maybe from personal experience of having some of that survivor's guilt, I'm just like, I can't see somebody say something like that and not just send some kind of resource their way. Any other thoughts about how to handle that? No. Okay. That's it. Miss CiCi. Thank y'all for talking to me. Miss CiCi, what you got in your sprinkle?
Well, I just wanted to say that when we think about depression, for those who attend church and who are very spiritual, you won't see the word depression in the Bible, but you'll see things like downcast, brokenhearted, troubled, miserable, despairing, that kind of thing.
Downtrodden?
Downcast.
Okay.
And so there are definitely examples. There's so many verses, so many uplifting verses in the Bible about finding joy, and, you know, when you're feeling down and out. And there's several people in the Bible who have some down and out days, and they describe it in the Bible. Like, for example, you have King David, who wrote a whole psalm about feeling sad. Like, he was just sad about some things that were going down. Elijah, who's also a prophet, he was discouraged and weary and afraid about some things. Jonah, who got swallowed by the whale, he wanted to run away because he was angry, but at the end of the day, like, a lot of the stuff that was going on, he felt really down about it. We all know the story of Job, lost everything. He definitely was very devastated. So I just wanted to end on a hopefully encouraging word, an encouraging scripture, and that comes from Psalms 34, verse 18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. So just know that even though you're feeling really depressed or you're feeling down and you feel like nobody is there for you, you can always count on God. You can always count on Jesus He cares for us for sure. But like everybody else said, don't just isolate yourself. If you can, please talk with somebody. That might be your pastor. That might be just somebody in the church. But really just know that the Lord cares for you and He understands what you are going through. Remember, Jesus wept. He did. So.
Jesus did weep. That was good.
Well, thank you for listening to the episode today. If you can, like, share, comment. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram under Four Sisters Podcast. If you want to send us listener letters, because hopefully we'll be able to get to a few next week. We do have some, but we want to make sure we kind of keep them a little stocked up. We have an email address, which is foursisterspodcast@gmail.com. And hopefully you enjoyed the episode. I think this was a very, at least for me, I will say it was a very good episode regarding things that I need to work on.
And shout out to the people who are commenting and saying how much they really like the show and how it's been helpful. Keep those comments going for real.
I know, because those are really like uplifting on one of those downtrodden days for us to keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And if you have some events that you want Four Sisters to come and speak at and give some enlightenment on mental health, reach out. Same email, foursisterspodcast@gmail.com. That's the same thing we will be going through for booking information as well.
And we have had some really positive experiences speaking and interacting with you guys. And so we would love to see you guys outside of this microphone.
All right.
See you next time.
Yeah, bye. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Four Sisters Podcast. Depression is such an important topic because the stigma against mental health often causes people to suffer in silence. We value you all as our new extended family of sisters and brothers. If you or someone you know are depressed or experiencing suicidal thoughts, we urge you to contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. They provide 24/7 free and confidential support for those in emotional distress. They also assist with getting you connected to prevention and crisis resources for you or your loved ones. You may also call 911 to request law enforcement officers to complete a welfare check for a friend or loved one who has expressed suicidal thoughts. Please do not ignore these statements or your own emotions. We need you here. Our family wouldn't be the same without you. Again, thanks for listening, and we hope you tune in again soon.